Okay, I've got a question. What does a microwave pizza, a political love interest, and a €1 villa promotion have in common?
Well, somehow, believe it or not, they are all key plot points in a brand new movie just out on Netflix, 2025's La Dolce Villa. And we've got a lot to talk about, Jennifer.
We sure do, Josh, and we will unwrap it all on this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
Now, Josh, this movie was filmed in Tuscany. Have you ever been to Italy?
I was just going to ask. I have not. It is definitely on my travel bucket list. And boy, this movie sort of had it kind of climbing the ranks, so to speak, on my travel bucket list. What about you?
Agreed. I've never been. The closest I've been is like, Pizza Hut or Cece's Pizza or Italy in Epcot at Disney World. Not really the same thing, but I'm sure I have an extra euro laying around. If that's all it takes, sign me up. So,
Okay, so here's the plot summary from IMDb. A successful businessman travels to Italy to stop his daughter from spending all her money to restore an old villa, but Italy has other romantic plans. Let's go.
okay, so we open to a man named Eric, who is played by Scott Foley, who I love. I was a big Scandal girl. I know he's been in other stuff too, but I know him from Scandal. Was very happy to see him in a peppier role. Anywho, he's running through the train station to get to a small town in Italy. He believes Italy is cursed because on past trips he hasn't really had much luck, but his daughter Liv is there. And he wants to stop her from buying this fixer upper villa. So he's going to meddle, and boy, we love a meddling parent trope, don't we?
We do. And we have seen this time and time again. It provides a nice little bit of conflict that's still relatable and can be comedic at times. So I'm here for it.
It should do that, shouldn't it?
Hmm.
Okay, so his daughter not thrilled to see him at the train station and refuses to be stopped in her plan. They evidently, father and daughter, have a communication gap and both feel that the other one doesn't talk to them enough, so there's definitely been some distance. The Miss Tiny Town has told Liv about a new way to drum up tourism. You can buy a €1 rundown Italian villa and fix it up to attract more people to the area. But you have to pay to fix it up. But then if you fix it up, you can sell it or live in it or whatever. It seems like a pretty sweet deal to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It does seem like a sweet deal. Do we know if this is actually happening over there?
So I didn't know, but I was talking to my coworker today about this movie, and she does not watch these movies, but she was like, "Oh, that's a thing. That's Italy does it, and some other countries are doing it too." And it is these tiny, tiny towns. It's not in like the Romes of it all. It's these off the beaten path towns, and they're trying to get people to sign up. I think it's a great idea.
I do too. I think there's something very romantic about the idea of charting a new course in a different country, and they really try to sweep you up in the romance of it all in this one.
Mhm, and it all goes a little too smoothly if you ask me, but we'll get to it. Anyways, Liv wants to use the fund that her late mother set up for her to pay for everything, but it's locked up in, I don't know, stocks or whatever, life insurance, whatever it is. So she doesn't have the liquid funds right now past the down payment. So, what do you know? Dad's like, "Well, maybe I can help bail you out, but you don't really know what it's like to be an adult, blah, blah, blah." Liv runs off to talk to a friend at a coffee shop. They turn around and Eric starts word vomiting to this beautiful woman about how bad of an idea it is. It's a scam and oopsie doodle. It's the mayor. Wouldn't you know it? And she's not really pleased with his American, tone. So then we get an Italian villa hunt montage, which is something I've never uttered. And we learn that the mayor's finances not great. This town, not in great shape. So she shows them a couple rundown villas, and they're like, no, this is garbage. There's no ceiling, blah, blah, blah. Then they come across the most picturesque, perfect of villas that was recently donated to the town, but is not yet on the official €1 villa project list, whatever that means. So there's some red tape that needs to come, but the mayor's like, it's fine. We got to pull out all the stops, try to bring young life to the town. It'll be all good. Eric and Liv fall in love with it, and it's a go. Eric's like, you know what? I'm going to stay in Italy for quote unquote a few weeks until the renovation is done, which makes me roll my eyes to the back of my head and then back forward again. Because in what world would this major renovation take a few weeks? I ask you, what world do we live in? And this is why I hate renovation movies because they always paint this picture of unrealistic construction timelines, not that I would know from personal experience. It
Yeah,
outrages me.
it's the same here. I mean, having done a pretty sizable renovation on a previous home we owned, the timeline on this is just laughable.
You can't even get through building codes in a few weeks, let me tell you, or at least that's how it is in Middle Tennessee. Maybe Italia is different, but so the mayor has this guy who I don't remember what his official title is, but basically he's like a building expert and he helps push the projects through and he knows the ins and outs of getting the permits that you need and yada yada yada. And then they talk, him and the mayor, about how this is their first €1 project. Excuse me? This is the first one you've done? And it's at this point, I'm like, yeah, maybe this is a scam because guess what? Who's the contractor? The best contractor, only contractor in town. It's the mayor's brother, Nino.
Go figure.
I'm like, this is a disaster waiting to happen. But actually, he turns out to be a great contractor and a super nice guy. So there you go. That's a feather in their cap. Eric butts heads with his daughter, who tells him to quote unquote slow your roll. And I was like, "Ugh," because they need to prove that there's a generational gap, So she talks in like millennial terms, I guess.
Mhm. There's a lot of talk of vibes. Everything is a vibe with that one.
Everything's a vibe with her, yeah. Eric is convinced that they'll do this, they'll flip it around, and then Liv can sell the property, and she's like, "No, I don't have plans of selling this. What are you talking about?" Because it's a vibe, as you said. By now, the contractor has said, "Okay, I think I can get everything done sooner than you originally thought, which was a few weeks." It's not gonna be Eric's few weeks. It won't be their original 6 months, but it'll be somewhere in the middle. Still, nope. Big nope. Because this place was not as bad as the other ones, but it still needed a lot of love and work, and there's just no way, but here we are. Okay. Then a lot of nothing happens, except Eric gets a whiteboard because what is his job? He's like a commercial kitchen restaurateur who consults, right? He
Yeah.
used to be a chef and now he's his consultant.
He's, like, on the business side of restaurants, helping restaurants to grow. Presumably, there's, like, a restaurant consultancy company that he runs back home in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah.
Sure. So he gets out his big whiteboard and has the calendar, and they start ticking off days of the project. And again, nothing really happens until day 20. We get Eric's whiteboard. He's marking it off. Nothing's happened visibly in this place. And Eric is like, you know what? I'm going to go to town because they uncovered an old brick, beautiful pizza oven behind some walls in what presumably they're like, I think this used to be the kitchen. Yeah, no kidding. It used to be the kitchen. But I guess the previous homeowner didn't cook, so he only had a microwave. So it was like this big open space. And they're like, cracking the code. I bet it was the kitchen. So Eric's like, I'm going to trot off to City Hall and try to find the original plans on my rusty old bike because I bet there's more treasures to unfold in this place. Like it's, stinking Jafar and Aladdin, and we're trying to find
The Da Vinci
a
Code.
genie and the lamp and the Da Vinci Code. Yeah. So while he's biking through town, he the bike betrays him and he kind of front flips into like there's these three old biddies who are all named Antonia, and they are always sitting at this fountain in town square, just perched, gossiping. And if you're new to the podcast, I gotta tell you, I love some old biddy townies. It's one of my favorite things. Loved them. What did you think of the old ladies Antonias? Times three.
You had to love them. You had to love
Yeah.
them. They were your favorite Nona times 3 because they were all there just watching it all unfold. They knew exactly what was gonna happen because 'cause they've seen it time and time again. They were very leery of him, and they're leery of all Americans. They have trust issues, but they're really, really funny, and I like the 3 of them together. They were great.
Yeah. And one of them has the hots for Eric too. She had ooga eyes, which is funny too. So Eric runs into the mayor while he's trying to find these plans. They get trapped in the room that has all the old blueprints, and What are we gonna do? Finally, after, this was a brief moment of peril, a BMOP, as we like to call it, because this lasted all of 20 seconds. They get let out, they fly into the hall, and she lands on top of him, a la Netflix, because it was a little inappropriate in front of some business professionals. And they're kind of starting to flirt with one another because I didn't mention she's kind of been overseeing or micromanaging this construction project of 20 days so far. She just keeps popping up and putting her nose in it. So, um, Nino, the contractor, tries to play Cupid with Eric and the mayor. And back at the house, he's like, okay, here you guys cut this pipe for reasons unknown to me. But here, be a part of everything. Cut the pipe. He leaves. Of course, everything is gonna happen. The pipe bursts, they have water spraying everywhere, and then Eric has to, softly caress her and dry her off like they're in a '90s boy band video. It was a little much for me.
A little much for me, especially the force with which that pipe threw them back. What was that? Like a high-powered hydrogen valve? I don't know. It was just unnecessarily aggressive.
The fire hydrant for the town, the main line. Yeah. He's like, "No, there must have been some water still left in the pipes. I turned the water off." Nope, that is a full blast. Yeah. So, Eric had put money up front for Liv to do the renovation because her money from her mom was tied up in all these things. Well, now she's got the money. Super easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and she's liquid. She pays him back, and she's like, "You know what? You can go now, Dad, because all you want to do is sell this." And it's vibes, and I don't like it. Thought it was a little forced, but here we are. She goes out back to garden because that's what her and her mom did a lot, or they talked about gardening. Also, I should have mentioned this whole thing was something that her and her mom talked about a lot in her mom's final days. Of, "Oh, wouldn't it be great to get one of these €1 villa projects going?" So this is a bit of a testament or a tribute to her mom, which is sweet. But that was like a blip, and then they moved on. Like the heartfelt weight of that didn't really hit for me. It was just kind of like, boop, oh, of course we got a dead mom, and then we moved on.
And there was really a missed opportunity there because the only picture we saw of mom this entire thing was on his cell phone right at the very beginning when we get that he is a widower.
Hmm.
That was it, right? And I
Hmm.
think that was kind of a missed opportunity to sort of build that out a little bit more.
Agreed. So after she asks him to leave, he loosens up and comes out back where she's gardening, and they sing a song very loudly that I did not know. Did you know this song?
Nope, of course not.
No. And the ice immediately thaws between them. They're father and daughter together forever, thick as thieves. They go to dinner at a nice restaurant. It just so happens that the chef flirts with Liv. After this, Eric gets inspired. He's like, you know what? We should make, since this kitchen's so large, now that we know it's a kitchen, we should make it a cooking school. The villa can be a cooking school because I used to be a chef. But uh-oh, that requires a change of use permit by this guy who, is like the paper pusher. And he's like, "You know what? I can help you out though. No problem." Great. Eric is going to contribute by buying top of the line Italian appliances. And it's very evident later when they roll in their Electrolux refrigerator, which is evidently a sexy refrigerator,
Just so
which
you
was
know.
blatant product placement, except they didn't even take it out of the box. It just shows the Electrolux box going in the background. It's like, what, do they not pay for the full promotion of this product?
I don't
Don't
know. I mean,
understand.
we see the refrigerator later, but they don't go all the way with the product placement. We never see one of these characters, like, rummaging through the refrigerator that's supposedly really great and really Italian. By the way, is that because he did say top of the line Italian appliances. I don't
Yeah,
think Electrolux is an Italian appliance. Am I wrong in that?
maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is.
I'll Google that while you talk. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was getting a phone call and I think it cut me out for a second. Am I back?
You're back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So since Eric's like, I'm gonna buy the appliances, I'm gonna trick out this kitchen. Guess what? Liv agrees Eric can stay a little while longer. Well, thanks, daughter of mine. As long as the money's flowing, she's fine with him being there meddling in her plans. I thought that was a little unfortunate, but here we are. What'd you find out about Electrolux? Anything yet?
It's a Swedish appliance maker, not Italian. There you go. The more you know.
What in the world?
We got you,
Come on,
Netflix.
Netflix.
We got
Come
you.
on. At least Hallmark, they'll do product placements for, like, sour cream and stuff, like smaller
A
scale
dollop of Daisy.
things.
Could have done that here.
Or Walmart. I think they did Walmart one
They
year, but
did.
no, we're going big high-end appliances and getting their nationality wrong. Oh boy.
Mhm.
Okay. So Eric and the mayor find the original blueprints. What do you know? There used to be a kitchen. What gave it away, you know? So Eric then goes on a picnic date with the mayor and she tells him, "Hey, we can't date because it's a conflict of interest." But then they kiss. So, guess we weren't too worried about it. Nino convinces Liv because she's been doing such a great job picking out finishes for this villa that she should be an interior designer. Because why don't we all just be interior designers on a whim because we can pick out a nice paint color? Isn't that great? It must be a really easy career to get into. So Liv is going to connect with Nino's friend in Rome, who is conveniently a designer looking for an apprenticeship. And since she has a good eye for design, she gets the apprenticeship and she's going to go to Rome. Isn't that great? But she hasn't told her dad yet. Uh-oh. All right. So throughout, Eric is zooming back and forth with his coworker, associate, employee, I don't know, holding down the fort back home at the consulting company. And she's gotten a job offer from somebody else, their competitor, and she's tempted to take it because she says basically like, "I need my boss on the same continent." It's been like 40 days, ma'am. Like, really? Really? Is it
Really.
it's really chapping your hide that much?
Mm, mm.
I don't know. So Eric ends up going on another date with the mayor and they make out at a beach party and while dancing. And basically they say, forget the conflict of interest. And then they really forget the conflict of interest because he spends the night with her in her Italian villa. A boo boo.
We don't get that on Hallmark.
Mm-mm. And it wasn't even like anything inappropriate. It was just they spent the night together and woke up putting their clothes back on the next day.
Yes. We do sort of get this we're in bed and we're making goo goo eyes at each other and there's like
Mhm.
soft light coming through the window. It was a very a rather intimate moment that we normally don't get in these.
Mhm. But I will say that's as far as it went, so if you're wondering, it was nothing more than that,
Not
so
salacious,
your
no.
mileage may vary on, yeah, how salacious that is for you. Okay, so Eric and Liv unpack some of their baggage and agree that once mom died, they drifted apart. She suggests that Eric stay in Italy for a year while she's doing her apprenticeship because she ends up, her kinda boyfriend spills the beans about that, and she's like, "Why don't you stay here, take care of the villa, and get the cooking school off the ground?" And he's like, "Wow, that's a great idea. I haven't thought about that." We should do that. Let's just all uproot our lives and go to Italy, okay? Well, the permit building guy likes the mayor, and he sees the mayor and Eric together, and he gets super jelly about it. Then he concocts this villainous plan to hijack the villa. So he storms off. They're at the villa because I guess the construction's done in record pace time, and everybody's loading in furniture, they're pointing a lot, the Electrolux is getting unboxed, everything's just really looking great, and oops, permit guy brings in 2 American heirs to the villa. Uh-oh.
Mm-mm.
They all freak out, and Erica's like, "You know what? I'm not gonna fight for it." So he convinces these people to live back the amount of money that they put into the villa, and then they can have it. And he's gonna go back to Ohio, that's all he's ever meant to be, forget love with the mayor, and Liv's gonna go to Rome, and it's fine, and we'll just all go back to our kind of normal lives. Really quickly. Like, he did not fight for this at all. He was like, "Well, my hands are tied, I guess, because these Americans showed up to take the villa back because we didn't know they existed, but I guess they do." So the biddies at the fountain talk about another family in town to the mayor with basically the same last name. It was like one vowel different. I don't remember what the name was, but let's say if it was Antonio, it was Antonia. Like
It was
it was
Leone,
similar.
Leona. Leone,
Thank
Leone.
you.
Yeah.
Yes. So what do you know? The Americans were really with the other family. They've inherited another villa, not their villa. So the mayor takes off and now that she's cracked the case, she chases down Eric at the train station, begs him to stay, and the permit guy's out of the picture. He got fired. The other Americans see their dump of a villa and they're like, "Well, do you know a good contractor?" Nino's gonna help them with that. And the €1 villa program is really taking off and boosting the town. We see the mayor in like a full suit presenting this concept to people. We see sweeping before and after shots of Erica and Liv's villa, and I have major gripes about this commercial kitchen layout that I won't get into here, but it's ridiculous and violates everything I stand for. And then they're having everybody over. Everybody you've seen in the movie, all the townies, all the biddies, they're over at the villa, hanging out, having the world's smallest pizza that comes out of this pizza oven that could feed it's like a personal pan pizza. I'm sure it tastes better than anything I've ever eaten, but because it's Italian, but it's this tiny you better get cracking. It made me think of when I had an Easy Bake Oven, and I spent so much time making a brownie, and it was, like, 3 inches in diameter, and it took an hour because it was being cooked with a light bulb, it reminded me of that, and they're very proud, and they're all that's okay that they're waiting on personal pan pizzas because 'cause they're dancing because 'cause they're free in Italy, they're all dancing, they're having a good time. Liv is dancing with her chef boyfriend, Eric's dancing with the mayor, other Italian townies are dancing with each other. One guy I wanted to save a clip, like a screenshot, and Netflix wouldn't let me. There's a guy in a blue shirt in the back, and he's dancing. If you're watching YouTube, his arms are like noodles, man. I mean, they're just like and he's by himself. He's just vibing full
Feeling it.
sore, and that's a wrap.
It's time for gold or coal. Oh.
Okay, so if you're new to the podcast, here's what we do. To tell you what we think about these, we give some gold and we might give some coal. We give gold if we like something, we give coal if we don't care for something. And in this one, if there's more gold in the total, we're going to call it buongiorno. And if there's more coal, we're going to say no grazie. Do you like that? I
That
practice.
was very good.
I practice.
When I wrote it, I was actually dreading having to say it, and then I remembered you would say it, so that worked out perfectly. Almost as
You're
perfect
welcome.
as building a villa in Italy, yeah.
Go figure. And so we will kick it off. Jennifer, what do you got for us?
So my first item I'm bringing to the podcast is gold, and we already alluded to it a little bit. The idea of, like, moving to Italy, building out an old rundown villa. Every townie you encounter is precious and sweet and kind and not trying to take advantage of you. And it's all sunset and rainbows and pasta. Just seems absolutely amazing. A little too perfect, you know, but I did think the idea of that is very charming, and I'm going to give it gold.
I'll start with some gold as well. Boy, the scenery here, they really scouted the perfect location for this, from the village to the countryside to the villa itself to all of it, the train station, and all just sort of it took you someplace. And you could tell that
Mhm.
they spent some time and spent some money to actually produce this the way that they needed to. And so I appreciated the aesthetics of this whole thing.
I agree. Gonna give some coal. Um, mm, I did not enjoy the father-daughter bond like I wanted to. It felt so surface level, and I get that they are kind of estranged or distant from one another, and then they come together. But usually in some of these movies, we get very low lows to high highs. It kind of is a bell. This was just kind of like a little speed bump. It didn't really the highs weren't that high and the lows weren't that low. It was just kinda meh to me as far as the emotional range goes. I think they could have done more with their backstory and given them a little more depth, and I didn't really buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some coal for me. I did not really think that they did enough with this Bernardo character, who was the guy who worked for the city that had a crush on the mayor and turned into the villain, like, at the very end. They could have made him the villain earlier on because they did sort of have some inkling that he liked her and noticed that she liked the other guy. And
Mhm.
he could have been undermining and a little bit more villainous throughout, as opposed to just sort of ramping that up right at the end. I didn't like that. Plus, they sort of yada yadaed him at the end, where they were like, "Oh, he went off to Rome." And so it was just sort of like, oh, okay, he's gone.
Did they have him murdered or something, or is he okay? The
Exactly.
bottom of a pond? Like, they very much yada yada'd him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I will give some more coal. It was a little too sweet for me. It was a little too saccharine sweet. Like, the drama was very minute. The the stakes weren't that high, really. Like, we weren't up against, and I guess maybe I'm gonna complain about things that we complain about with Hallmark, though, because there wasn't a deadline. We had to get the cooking school open by a certain point, or, like, it was all just vibes and just, everything's kinda working out, and here's your Electrolux. Like, they didn't run out of money, and they needed to do a charity to find more money or something. Like, there was just none of that. It was just kinda like, "Oh, yeah, some wealthy people were building out a villa, and it's gonna work out great, and they're just gonna move to Italy."
Mm,
Vibes.
yeah. My last gift is coal as well. I just felt like this was a little too easy breezy, and I think they really missed an opportunity here. We got that one of the Nonas was a baker, had a bakery earlier in her life. Why they didn't use that as the cooking school and make it around her,
Mm.
that could have brought it a little full circle, and kind of given that a little bit more. There were just some missed opportunities throughout. And like you, I just thought that this was a little too easy breezy, a little too saccharine, a little too lacking some depth, I guess, for me.
Yeah, it was a little too surface level, and yeah, that none of the characters, man, I just said this about the father-daughter, but really none of them had a whole lot of depth and backstory to them.
And
Like,
did you
I
notice
kinda
Jennifer?
thought the chef boyfriend guy would have some evil, side quest or something to him, and he was just a super nice, attractive man that she's gonna fall in love with. Like, it never went past here.
Yeah. And you'll notice this may be the first time we've reviewed a movie where we did not give gold or coal for the main characters or their relationship, which might
Mhm.
tell you a lot about this movie.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't buy Scott Foley and the Mirror together, and they don't really focus on Liv and her boyfriend much at all, so they weren't supposed to be the focus. I still enjoy Scott Foley. I think he did a good job with what he had. I just think it was kind of never supposed to be that deep, and maybe that's fine, but
Yeah.
mission accomplished, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's not gonna be a rewatch for me. What do you think?
No, certainly not a rewatch
Yeah.
for me. And
No.
we'd love to know if you watch this one or you're going to watch it now that we've told you maybe don't watch it. We would love to know, were we wrong? Tell us your comments, tell us your thoughts. Connect with us on our social media channels. You can find links to everything on our website at doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com. And that, friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch? Hey, if you liked this episode, be sure to bop that like button on YouTube.
That's what they say to do. That's
Mm.
what you're supposed to do. Yeah,
Indeed.
maybe I wish it would make, like, a jingle bell noise or something, like, I wish we could make it trademark to us, but,
Exactly.
oh, well. Anyway, special thanks to Nick Schwartz, as always, for our theme song with jingle bells in it. There you go. And Josh, what are we gonna talk about next? Do we know yet?
Yes, we do. So next time we are going to be chatting about a brand new movie out on Hallmark. This one is called Royal-ish. It's one of those royal movies that they've got for us in March, and we know Jennifer's not too thrilled about them. I'm not too thrilled either, but we're going to do our service to stay true to the spirit of the podcast and bring you fresh reviews of Hallmark Channel movies. And so here is the plot summary of Royalish. This one centers on a gal named Lacey. She is an amusement park princess, whatever that
Huh?
might mean. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, like at Disney, like a Cinderella type character?
I think so. Yes. And she
Okay.
befriends an 8-year-old girl named Rose, who is a real life princess. And she is then recruited by her handsome father, Rose's father, to travel to their kingdom. I'm sure it's going to be some vaguely European nation, of course,
Of
and
course.
be their new governess. Well, one thing is for sure, we will definitely have much to discuss. And until then,
Your days be merry and bright. We'll see you next time.